Good evening and welcome. I'm delighted to welcome you all here this evening to celebrate the launch of Judi's latest book. Omahonese loves supporting local authors, and Judi Curtin has been with us a long time now. We're very pleased that we have yet another book launch, albeit in quite different circumstances. So Gráinne O'Brien, Queen of the Children's Department, as she'd love to be known as, is going to speak to you in a few minutes, and she's going to pose some questions that young readers have sent in to us for Judi. Thank you.
So Judi, we put out a call for questions because what I found selling books here in Omahonese is that there are no fans like Judi fans. They're obsessed with you. They absolutely love you. They get really emotional whenever your books are signed, and it's so great. So we did get a load of interest. So I picked 5 because otherwise we'd be here all day. And the first one was, what inspired you to tell this story from a maid's point of view instead of the richer people? So that's Lily.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I really didn't even think twice about it because both of my grandmothers did work as housemaids in big houses, and I thought, I have to tell their story. I'm not telling the story of the richer people because the housemaid's story doesn't always go down in history, and I wanted the housemaid to be out.
It's like Downton Abbey in Lissadell. And then the next one is, you're from Limerick, so why did you want to tell the story of life in Lissadell House in Sligo?
I visited Lissadell, and it is just such a wonderful place. It really, really is magical, and there's lots of beautiful houses in Limerick, but Lissadell stole my heart.
One of your fans emailed and said she was all ready to go to Lissadell because she had fallen in love with it after your first book in the series, and she's counting down the days till it's open again after COVID.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
It didn't open at all this year, and I wanted to go for another visit just to refresh myself when I was writing this book.
Yeah, and it didn't open at all?
No.
Sure. Writer's favourite question. Where do you get your ideas from?
Everywhere. And I have to say the idea for the Lily books came from Michael O'Brien, my publisher. He suggested that I write a book set in a big house. And then I began to think about my grandmothers, and then I visited Lissadell, and that's where that idea came from. Other places, ideas just come from anywhere, random thought, something I might see in a bookshop, something somebody says. I'm lucky, I'm not short of ideas.
That's great. You're very unique in that way, I think. Do you know what your next book is going to be about?
Actually, I do, and I don't always have a good answer to that, but my next book is actually going to be a Royal Book Day book. It was just announced today, so it's going to be about Lily, and I'm not going to say more about it.
That's brilliant.
Yes. Well, I think people know the title. It's called Lily and the Lissadell Ghost.
We're talking about World Book Day already.
Yeah.
So exciting. And finally, how long does it take you to write a book?
Again, it depends. Lily Steps Up was very quick because I had done a lot of the research about the era, and I knew the characters. I knew about Lily and her friends and her close friend Maeve de Markievicz, Countess Markiewicz's daughter. So when you know all of those, it's much quicker because you're actually starting at the very beginning and just going through the story. So fastest would be maybe 4 or 5 months for the first draft, but then so many drafts after that. A year probably.
So was it easier to, this is my question now, was it easier to write this one because you've done the research from the first book? Okay.
Yeah, I still had to review the research, and apologies to the local library, I still have some of your books. And I had to go back over it, but it was partly in my head already, so it was much easier.
Lovely. So looking forward to hearing some of Lily Steps Up, which Judi's going to read in a minute.
Thanks, Gráinne.
Thank you.
Good evening. Happy launch night to Judi Curtin and Lily Steps Up. I'm Helen Carr. I'm Judi's editor at the O'Brien Press, and I've been editing Judi's children's books for many years. I love all of them, but I have to admit, like Judi herself, I have a huge soft spot for the Lissadell books, of which Lily Steps Up is the second. Congratulations, Judi. It's really an amazing book. This second book in the Lissadell series is set in Lissadell House in Sligo in 1914, and I think it really brings the era vividly to life. But though it's historical fiction, the main characters, the young servant girls Lily and Nellie and their more aristocratic friend Maeve de Markievicz, won't seem like characters from the history books to young readers because Judi just brings such empathy and warmth to the characters that I think young readers will really empathise with them. Judi makes Lily and Nellie, the young servant girls, so real and relatable that I think today's readers can imagine the amount of work that went into their daily lives. I don't think any young readers could take a trip to a stately home or a big house from now on without looking at like the fireplaces and the stairs and imagining Lily and Nellie blackleading them and sweeping the stairs and thinking of the difference between their life and the life upstairs of their friend Maeve de Markievicz. I think it really brings a changing Ireland where young girls had very different lives, but still the same hopes, dreams, aspirations and feelings as young girls today to life. There are so many things I love about this book. The historical details, the real historical figures like Countess Markievicz, and I suppose the sense of a changing Ireland and also the page-turning nature of the story, because there is a really exciting story about what's going to happen with like Lily's life and employment and her future. But most of all, I love the friendships between the girls and the way Judi describes Lily's feelings and dilemmas. It's just a really lovely, warm book. Huge congratulations, Judi. I think reading about Lily and her life, which in some ways is quite difficult, and there are a lot of obstacles she has to overcome in her daily life, I think that will be really comforting and relatable to young readers today in these strange times where things maybe aren't going so smoothly for people. So I think it's a very timely book. Congratulations, Judi. I really, really love the book. I loved working with you on it. It was a pleasure as always, and I hope we work on many, many more books together, and enjoy your launch night. Best wishes. Bye.
Hi Judi, just recording this little piece from my local park in Dunleary to say a huge congratulations and celebration for your new book, Lily Steps Up. I've read the first Lily book and it was incredible. I loved it. Judi, you're absolutely amazing. This is the park from, I often ring you from this park and we chat about plotting and characters and what's going on in our lives, and I really appreciate and love your friendship. So from one writer to another, have a gorgeous day. I know I'm gonna love Lily Steps Up, and wishing you all the best for a very special publication day. And congratulations to Omahonese for this lovely idea.
Hello everyone, Siobhan McDonald here. I'm delighted to be part of proceedings to congratulate Judi and to help launch her new book, Lily Steps Up, into the hands of an eagerly waiting audience. Ever since I first came across Lily in Lily at Lissadell, the story of the warm, kind-hearted, hard-working, mischievous Lily has stayed with me. And even though Lily's story starts in September 1913, she truly is a heroine for our times. Unlike a lot of her more unfortunate contemporaries, Lily didn't have to suffer an American wake, and she was fortunate enough to get a job in service in the big house in Lissadell in Sligo. And she works very hard in this house, but at weekends she comes home to her family and she brings food parcels and she does everything she can for them. And back at work, she also tries to help her young friend Nellie how to read. I imagine these are experiences that chime very much with a lot of young people over the last few months that possibly had to help out with schooling of younger brothers and sisters while the schools were shut, and also stepping up to do extra chores around the house and cooking and cleaning while their parents were trying to work from home. Lily is a girl who tries to see the best in people, and when people appear to be behaving badly, she thinks, well, there has to be a reason for that. And this quality, along with her other qualities, well, I think we could do with an awful lot more of that in the world we have today. Just like the seamstresses in her book, Judi has seamlessly woven together fact, fiction, and her own special brand of magic to create a wonderfully human story of what life must have been like in a big house like Lissadell. And we get to find out about the Gore Booths, about how kind they were to people in the locale, and we also get to find out a little bit more about Nellie's tragic backstory. And we get to find out about the intriguing Maeve, who is daughter of Constance Markievicz, and she's a budding artist. Now, all of us that have drawn Lily into our hearts, we're dying to find out what happens next and to meet Maeve and Nellie and Lily again. And I have no doubt that no matter what challenges come her way, she certainly will step up to them. And for the times that are in it, I really feel that we all need a Lily in our lives. So here's to Lily, and huge congratulations again, Judi. Well done.
Judi, Curtin, I can't believe it's that time again. It just seems like no time at all since we were setting Lily off on her maiden voyage. This scared, innocent young girl when she made her way to Lissadell house for the first time, not having a clue what was ahead of her. And how you have grown her as a character and how you've developed her. I love Lily. I love the setting, Lissadell house, and the mother's house as well. And I love how Lily hasn't forgotten where she's come from, even though her life is so different now. And I love Nellie and I love Maeve and all the different characters. You have so got the big house. I remember being absolutely glued to upstairs, downstairs as a youngster. Can't remember what age I was, but I always remember that the downstairs crew had the best crack. So I'm delighted that you've set it pretty much all downstairs. But it's lovely to have the crossover too with Maeve. Well done, Judi, my friend, my co-author. Well done, and all the very best to you and to Lily. I'll raise my glass to you and I'll take a little sip. Wishing you all the best. We'll see you on the bestseller list.
Hello everybody at Omahonese, and hello also to the wonderful Judi Curtin on the occasion of this book launch of Lily Steps Up, which is such an exciting event as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure as far as the world is concerned too. When Lily at Lissadell came out last year, the excitement and the heartwarming storytelling impact that it had was just phenomenal. I mean, historically brilliant. The character of Lily herself, there was no way that we were ever going to let Judi leave it at one book, and now she has stepped up herself to provide us with another wonderful story of this fantastic setting and this wonderful character. Judi, huge congratulations to you. We're so proud of you all over Limerick. We're sorry we can't be there. This crazy time just keeps on scuppering those gatherings that we would normally have. But I hope you have a lovely day. You deserve to celebrate in a whole range of different ways, and we will get together on the other side of this to celebrate in person. But meanwhile, just sending you every good wish, and I hope that this book is the success that it deserves to be. Love to you all and happy day.
So I'm going to read to you a few pages from Lily Steps Up. And all you need to know in advance is that Lily is a very young girl living in Ireland in the early part of the last century. She dreams of being a school teacher, but because her family is very poor, she has to go and work at Lissadell House as a housemaid. Spring 1914, and they all lived happily ever after. She closed the storybook and sat back on her bed with a big sigh. "Well done, Nellie," I said, giving her a hug. "That was wonderful. You read a whole book all by yourself." The book was made for little children, and it had taken Nellie many days to get to the end, stumbling over the bigger, unfamiliar words. That didn't matter, though. Nellie didn't have much schooling, so she was very proud of herself now. "I could never have done this without you," she said. "Oh, Lily, whatever would have happened? If you hadn't come to work here with me, you've changed my life." I was embarrassed. It was true I had taught her to read, but that was easy to do, as she was so clever and eager to learn. I wished I could do more to change her life, though. Sometimes I felt like crying when I thought of all the bad things that had happened to Nellie. After her mum and dad died when she was little, Nellie and her two sisters were sent to the workhouse. When they got there, Nellie was separated from her sisters, and she never saw them again. Now the poor girl had no idea where they were, or even if they were still alive. That meant she had no family at all to care for her or love her. But how could I fix that? I couldn't bring her mum and dad back, and how could a poor housemaid like me even begin to search for her sisters? Teaching Nellie to read was the best I could do, but it didn't seem like enough. Nellie climbed under her blankets and put the book on her locker. "I'm going to start reading it again tomorrow," she said, "and I'm going to read it every day until I can do all the pages without a single mistake." "Good idea," I said, as I put out the gaslight and climbed into my own bed. "And then I can get more books from the nursery and help you with those. Before long, you'll be reading the newspaper and all the big hard books in the library." "Thank you, Lily," she said sleepily, and a few minutes later I could tell from her breathing that she was fast asleep. I couldn't sleep as I thought back to my first days at Lissadell house many months ago. Back then Nellie was grumpy and mean to me. Now I knew her better and understood why she had been like that. Nowadays she was very sweet to me and rarely complained about anything. Nowadays she was a very dear friend. Lissadell was Nellie's whole life, but I knew that, deep down, she wanted what I had. She wanted a family of her own. As I lay there in the darkness, I made up my mind that I was going to help my friend. Only I had no idea how I was going to do it.
Congratulations, Judi. Your granny Hurley would love to have read your book. She was a maid when she was young.
So I'm really proud and happy to be here today launching Lily Steps Up. If you'd said to me a few years ago that I was going to write historical novels for children, I would have said that's definitely not going to happen. And now I seem to have done it twice. And I've really loved it. The character of Lily has really got into my head, and her friends and the setting and the era are really, I find them really interesting. So I think you'll probably hear more about Lily in the future. I want to thank some people. I'd like to thank my family, my lovely husband Dan, and our 3 children, Brian, Ellen and Annie. Thank you, and I love you all. I'd like to thank my publishers, the O'Brien Press, who have been wonderful to me. They've done a great job on all of my books. I'm nervous to name names, but I have to mention Helen Carr, my editor, because without her, my books would not be as good as they are. I'd like to thank Rachel Corcoran, who did such a good job on the cover of the Lily books. I think she really brought them to life, and I'm in awe of what you can do with I don't know how you do it on a paintbrush or a computer, but thank you, however you do it. I'd like to thank my writing friends, some of whom have sent me lovely messages, and we're a nice, friendly group in Ireland. I think we support each other. There's no sense of people competing and vying, and there certainly isn't any backstabbing that I'm aware of. So, yeah, we're a nice family, and I appreciate that. I have to thank all the lovely staff in Omahonese who from the very beginning have supported me, as they do all local Limerick authors. Again, nervous of naming names, but I have to thank Colette and Grania and Katerina and Lisa, who's doing all the techie stuff, and Adrian for the filming, and all of the other team. It's a really great bookshop, and we're lucky to have you in Limerick. And finally, I'm going to thank the young readers, because without you, there's no books, and there'd be no point in me writing all of these many books if there's nobody out there reading them. And I get great feedback, and I love the questions. I'm sad that this year I won't be meeting many of you, but in the future we will, and please keep on reading. And to people who buy books, the grannies and the aunties and the uncles and the cousins and the friends and the big sisters, please keep on buying the books and giving your children the wonderful gift of reading. Thank you.
To finish up, I want to thank a few people, Judi, of course, and the team here in Omahonese, who do so much work behind the scenes and without the praise and attention that they deserve. And to you, the listener, we appreciate your support, without which we would not be in business after 118 years. We look forward to seeing you in one of our shops soon, but if you can't make it, please order online at omahonese.ie. Your business would be very much appreciated. Autographed copies of all Judi's books are available to purchase both online and in our Limerick branch. Stay safe from everybody in Omahonese.